we use the WH questions in order to ask for questions. We might ask questions when we communicate with people, or people might ask questions. So in both cases, we need to be aware of the basic structures that are used to ask WH questions. So in this video, I will show you those patterns, which are important, in fact, for your communications. Here is the first one. When there is an auxiliary verb, it has its own structure, and where there is no an auxiliary verb, it has also a different pattern. If the sentence consists of an auxiliary verb, the WH questions can be formed in such a way. We have the WH word, what, who, whom, which, plus auxiliary verb, plus subject, plus main verb. So the auxiliary verb is the second verb that we use in order to support the main verb. Look at the examples here. When is she coming? Coming is a main verb, whereas is the auxiliary verb. So in order to express the kind of tense we use, that we bring is in this sentence. Now, auxiliary verb ምናመጣው ሜን ቨርቡን ሰፖርት ለማድረግ ነው። እዚህ ጋር ካሚንግ የሚለው ነው ሜን ቨርብ፣ ኢዝ የሚለው ኦክሲለሪ ቨርብ ነው። ሶ ፕሬዘንት ኮንቲኒየስ መጠቀም ስላለብን ነው ኢዝን የተጠቀምን ማለት ነው። What do you do for a living? The second do is a main verb, but the first do is auxiliary verb. What have you done now? Done is the main verb, have is auxiliary verb. Present perfect ስለሆነ ነው haveን የተጠቀምን እንጂ ላስፈልገን ይችል ነበር ማለት ነው በፕሬዘንት ኮንቲኒየስ ብናደርገው። ለምሳሌ why shouldn't we read the book? Read is an auxiliary main verb, whereas should is an auxiliary verb. So the WH question can be formed by just bringing the auxiliary verb first, followed by the subject, and then the main verb. When the auxiliary, look, auxiliary verbs, as I said earlier, are helping verbs. They are not main verbs. Common auxiliary verbs are the verb to be, the verb to do, the verb to have, and modals. Let's see them one by one before we move on to the second rule regarding the use of WH question. There is a verb to be. Am is are. Why is he writing this? Here is a WH word, and we have the auxiliary verb that follows the subject, and we have the main verb. So is an auxiliary verb, writing is a main verb. እዚህ ጋር writing የሚለውን ነው ሰፖርት ሊያደርግ የመጣ present continuous ስለሆነ ማለት ነው። Whereas the verb to be can also be a main verb. If we say, is he a student? Now we don't have any other verb. So is, in this case, becomes a main verb. So sometimes if we don't have auxiliary verbs, the verb to be can be main verbs. I am a student. I'm a teacher. Kalin, main verb ይሆናሉ ማለት ነው። I'm writing a letter. He's doing his business. Kalin, doing የሚለው writing የሚለው main ይሆንና is የሚለው auxiliary ይሆናል ማለት ነው። Here are the verb to do. Do, does. Verb to do የምንላቸው do እና does ነው። Why did he tell you the information? Tell here is the main verb, whereas did is the auxiliary verb. So ቴንሱን ነው ኤክስፕረስ ለማድረግ ለማሳየት የመጣው did እዚህ ጋር past tense ስለተጠቀምን ማለት ነው። So did auxiliary verb ነው፣ tell main verb ነው ማለት ነው። Who did the assignment? I did the assignment. Kalin, we don't have any other verb, so did becomes the main verb. The verb to have, here we have has and have. They act also as main verb and auxiliary verbs in different contexts. Why has he done this? Present perfect ለማድረግ ነው has የመጣው። ስለዚህ has auxiliary ነው፣ done የሚለው ደግሞ main verb ነው ማለት ነው። Who has it? I have it. Possession ነው እዚህ ጋር inquire ያደረግን so has is a main verb modals what can I do about the problem ካልን do የሚለው ነው auxiliary verb እንጂ you should work hard ብንል ለምሳሌ work የሚለው main verb should የሚለው auxiliary verb ማለት ነው ስለዚህ እነዚህ should could might may የምንላቸው they are frequently used as auxiliary verbs now let's see the second rule በመሃል auxiliary verboቹ እንድትለዩን ያመጣሁትና may auxiliary verb ካለው the wh words አሉ auxiliary ይኖረናል subject ይኖረናል ከዛ main verb ይኖረናል ማለት ነው when we don't have auxiliary verbs in sentences or in interrogations we have the wh words which replace the subjects I will show you the examples followed by the main verbs so we don't have auxiliary in this case who won the game we have the wh word followed by won the main verb so there is no auxiliary verb who won the game maybe Haile Gebrselassie so Haile Gebrselassie is a subject so who is used in this case as a subject of the sentence who gave you this present the president the chairperson the dean of the college but who subject to no ማለት ነው indicate የሚያደርግ so we don't have any auxiliary verb here gave is the main verb which precedes the wh word who brought the materials my brother my friend my classmate ሊሆን ስለሚችል who የሚለው እነዛን ሪፈር ነው የሚያደርግ እንደ ሳብጀክት ነው ማለት ነው so wh words እዚህ ጋር እንደ ሳብጀክት ነው የሚያገለግሉት እነሱን የሚከተሉ ቨርቦች ሜን ቨርብ ናቸው ማለት ነው for negative wh questions the negative marker that is not is used with the auxiliary verb here it is not negative questions ይኖረን not የሚለው auxiliary verb ጋር ይቀመጣል ማለት ነው why didn't you convince her convince የሚለው main verb ነው did የሚለው auxiliary ነው so not የሚለው negative marker ከauxiliary verb ጋር ነው ሄደ ማለት ነው we can't do this assignment do is a main verb can is an auxiliary verb so the negative marker not accompanies with the auxiliary verb can uses of wh words ለምሳሌ what who whom when where የሚሉ ለምንድን ነው የሚያገለግሉ እንያቸው እስኪ what is used to ask about things what are you doing things ነው ሪፈር የሚያደርገው personን አይደለም placeን timeን አይደለም what when is used to ask about time when will the meeting start things አይደለም peopleን አይደለም ሪፈር የምናደርገው where is used to ask about places where are you going where is my bag place ነው ሪፈር የምናደርገው ማለት ነው እነዚህ ቤዚክ ስለሆነ ነው ያመጣኋቸው እዚህ ጋር who told you the story ከበደ አለሚቱ ልንል እንችላለን so who refers to person or people not things not place not time which is used to ask about choices which one do you choose which shall we take now which way shall we go ብንል choiceን ያሳየናል ማለት ነው so በዚህ መልኩ the wh words መጠቀም እንችላለን ማለት ነው whose to talk about possession ንብረትነት ባለቤትነት whose books are these ካልን whose ሪፈር የሚያደርገው place አይደለም time አይደለም possession why reason cause why did it happen why are you doing this why do we need to go to the city የሚሉትን ብንጠይቅ reason ነው ማለት ነው how is used to about manner or process ነው how is the weather how do we do coffee traditionally ብንል processን ነው የሚያሳየን how is the weather ብንል mannerን ነው የሚያሳየን ማለት ነው whom is used to ask about people that's object especially whom did you tell the information whom did you see in the morning ብንል objecቱን ነው subjecቱን አይደለም ማለት ነው so these sentence constructions frequently appear in our communication look at whether they are formally or informally identify them who should we send the invitation to objecቱን ነው አሁን ሪፈር እያደረግን ያለ ነው whom የሚለው ነው የሚተካው እዚህ ጋር ግን ኢንፎርማል ነው። who should we send the invitation? we የሚለው ሳብጀክት ስለሆነ who ሪፈር የሚያደርገው ኦብጀክትን ስለሆነ ነው preposition to as the end ይጠቀም ነው። so we send the invitation to our uncle ሊሆን ይችላል። so ኢንፎርማል ነው but we can use it። whom ብቻ አይደለም ኦብጀክትን ሪፈር የሚያደርገው whom should we send the invitation to ማለት እንችላለን። this is more formal. this is formal. here is a more formal. to whom should we send the invitation? to የሚለው መጀመሪያ ካመጣን more formal ይሆናል ማለት ነው። otherwise to መጨረሻ ላይ አመጣን who whom የሚሉትን ተጠቅመን ኦብጀክቱን ሪፈር ማድረግ እንችላለን። for what reason did she leave him? ይሄም more formal ነው preposition plus the WH phrase ወይም ደግሞ what reason did she leave him for ማለት እንችላለን። ኢንፎርማል ይመጣል ማለት ነው። በደንብ ይዋቸውና ለኮሚኒኬሽን አፕላይ ታደርጓቸዋላችሁ ማለት ነው። the yes no questions they also appear in our communications as I have seen between the WH questions and the yes no questions. The WH questions seem a bit more complex than the WH questions. This is more simple than the WH questions. The verb to be we have, the verb to do, the verb to have, the modals plus subject plus the main verb. እነሱ ስለሆነ auxiliary የሚሆኑት መጀመሪያ ስናመጣ ቀጥታ ሳብጀክቱ ይመጣል፣ ሜን ቨርቡ ይመጣል ማለት ነው። yes no question form ስናደርግ verb to be ቅድም አይነት አይተናቸዋል። verb to do, verb to have and modals. verb to be is she laughing? Are we doing it? Are we supposed to come to the classroom? The verb to do you know him? No. is she laughing? ካልን is አለ፣ ከዛ subject አለ፣ ከዛ main verb አለ። Here it is a verb to do plus the subject plus the verb, then it continues. We have the verb to have plus verb plus have plus subject plus verb. We have the modals, should I stay here, should plus subject plus main verb. በዚህ መልኩ ፎርም ማድረግ እንችላለን ማለት ነው። በዚህ በቃናል። እስኪ